you know, it's not particularly the busy time of the offseason, but considering the fact that the Seahawks need to essentially retool their coaching staff with folks of Pete Carroll's past staff leaving to go to different places and being essentially told, hey, you can go where you want to because they weren't going to be retained by Mike MacDonald and that staff, those folks leaving and then, having to replace them in their positions. So we'll just go over a few things, but first there was a rumor that, per Adam Schefter, Eric Bieniemy, who was let go by the Washington Commanders and the former offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, Eric Bieniemy was in talks with the Seahawks for their offensive coordinator job before Ryan Grubb ultimately was hired for that. So interesting, at least, to think about. Bieniemy received a lot of praise during his time with Kansas City, just considering how good the Chiefs' offense was under, with Patrick Mahomes, obviously Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill at the time. So interesting, at least, to know that was an option. I know some folks had wanted to see Bieniemy in Seattle before the news about Ryan Grubb broke, but it's interesting, at least, to know that was something that might have been in the realm of possibility at some point in time. So we'll get over here to the confirmed coaching hires. On February 13th, the team officially announced 7 hires to the staff. A few of these we've already talked about, of course. Aiden Durd as the team's defensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb as the offensive coordinator, Jay Harbaugh as the special teams coordinator, Leslie Frazier as the assistant head coach. Carl Scott remains on the staff as the defensive passing game and coordinator and defensive backs coach. Scott Huff joins Grubb, leaving Alabama and coming from UW to coach the offensive line after Andy Dickerson left for Cleveland. Kirk Olivadotti will coach inside linebackers, which will be an entirely new slate for the Seahawks, considering that they don't have any of their linebackers under contract at the current point in time. And in addition to those hires on that day, General Manager John Schneider now has the title of President of Football Operations. So with Pete Carroll not in the head coaching role and taking more of an advisory role, at least that's what the organization has told us, Schneider takes over that role and kind of basically has free reign over the Seahawks and their player personnel. So that was interesting, of course. We've got a few more different coaching hires throughout the course of the week, not all of them official just yet. On the 15th of February, the team is expected to hire Rams pass game specialist Jake Peetz as their new pass game coordinator. Peetz was the offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach at LSU in 2021, the quarterbacks coach with the Carolina Panthers in the year of 2020, and with the Oakland Raiders in 2017 as their quarterbacks coach as well. We go over here on the 16th, the team reportedly hired Frisman Jackson as the wide receivers coach. He coached the Steelers and their wideouts the last 2 seasons. He was a former Cleveland Browns wide receiver and had previously been with the Titans and the Panthers in their respective wide receiver rooms as well. Also hired on the 16th was Kennedy Palomalu as the running backs coach. Spent the last 2 seasons with the Las Vegas Raiders. I almost said Oakland Raiders, still kind of getting used to that. Still doesn't feel right. And worked previously under Pete Carroll at USC from 2001 to 2003. The last reported hire for the team's coaching staff was on the 17th, hiring Charles London as the quarterback's coach, most recently serving as the Titans quarterback's coach and pass game coordinator, having other experience with the Falcons, Bears, and the Texans. So that's in coaching staff news. There was one tidbit outside of that for the Seahawks with Geno Smith and a few other contracts getting their base salary guaranteed. The important date was February 15th. The Seahawks, John Schneider, Mike MacDonald had the decision to make. Will Geno Smith remain on the roster? It doesn't necessarily guarantee what else they'll do with quarterbacks throughout the course of the offseason, whether that's the draft or free agency. But they did decide to keep Geno Smith. There was no cutting him for cap. There was no trade. Geno Smith will earn his $12.7 million contract, which is his base salary that becomes fully guaranteed. So interesting there to wonder if Geno will be the quarterback this year for Seattle. I know that when asked initially, Mike MacDonald said the first few players that he talked to were Geno Smith and Drew Lock. So very interested to see how that goes. What the quarterback situation will be. I know that some folks have wanted to see Michael Penix drafted out of the University of Washington, especially considering the Ryan Grubb hire as the offensive coordinator. I personally wouldn't mind that one bit. I think it would be interesting, especially, all the stuff that happened, the UW connection. It will be interesting, especially just considering where a bunch of the UW guys go, and considering the amount of talent that's leaving the university to go into this respective draft class. If the Seahawks bite on any of them, whether it's Penix, Joy Fatuanu, a bunch of different guys could go to Seattle with the number 16 overall pick, but we'll have to see. Again, this is where stuff like the mock drafts comes into play, and you get to wait for that. I personally wouldn't mind at all to see, Penix drafted here, maybe let him learn some stuff under Geno this season and then have him take over next year. But again, that's stuff that's a ways away, and, there will be the combine and all this and that and more rumors to go from there. So that's kind of what we've got for Seahawks, with the coaching staff continuing to be filled out. Obviously the players on the field are a big aspect of a lot of things, in football and in sports as a whole. But if you get the right coaching staff to put these guys in the right positions to succeed, give them the right technique, teach them well, then they're going to do even better, maybe even raise them from what they were as a player, make them a better player. So interesting to see how these respective hires will work out, and seeing where these different coaches are coming from to join Mike MacDonald's staff and join his rookie season as the Seahawks head coach in 2024.